So hey everybody, my name is Paul. Nice to talk to you through Facebook once again. I had a question just come in recently about how effective our last video was on interrupting your thinking if you're going through anxiety. So that was a great video, got lots of shares, and I had quite a few questions coming back asking how do you stop, your mate, or if your friend's going through anxiety, or your sister or your brother or your mother or your workmate, how do you kind of get in there and help them? So the first thing is that what we need to do is interrupt their thinking pattern. So I taught you the broken record technique last time, which you do for yourself. So you see, if you're dealing with anxiety and you're aware that you're anxious, then clearly that thought pattern that's running out of control isn't you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be aware that you're having the thought. So you've got the ability to notice that you're anxious. So therefore, if you're aware that you're anxious, you've got the ability to make the decision to interrupt your pattern. So that works if it's for you. However, if it's somebody else and they're not quite aware of anything, they're just anxious, then we have the ability to be able to step in and to help them break that thinking pattern. Now, this does not work 100% of the time because it takes a bit of practice and it takes a bit of skill. So if you've got somebody that you know is dealing with anxiety, give yourself permission to fail and really practice it. You'll find it comes in handy in so many different applications, not just anxiety, but it will take a bit of practice. So the first key to it is that you've got to know your mate. You've got to understand who you're talking to, because you're going to have to learn to interrupt their pattern in a way that's going to get their attention. And that's the key. So getting their attention is the first thing. Also to just checking that your environment's safe for the question that you're going to be asking somebody. So that's really, really vital. So, and we'll come back to how that works also too. So understanding what somebody's state of mind actually is. So when somebody's in a particular state or a way of thinking, it's determined by what they're paying attention to, what they're either thinking consciously or unconsciously, so that we know if they're anxious, 99.9% of the time they're thinking about either an undesirable future or a regretful past. Okay, so it's either memory or it's an imagined future that's not going to work out so well. That's what creates the anxiety. It's uncertainty. So knowing that that's what's going through your mate's head, is we want to interrupt that with a question or an action or something of shock value. So if you can imagine that you're feeling anxious, so imagine if, for example, you were walking down the road and you were feeling anxious, and then right next to you there was a car crash and it went bang. Well, you'd totally snap out of your anxiety and you'd go into what the fuck just happened. So that's a pattern interrupt. That just happened by chance. So we want to do the same sort of thing with our friends. Now, I'm not suggesting that you scare the poop out of them, but that was just to give you the example of what a pattern interrupt is like. So we know that when someone snaps out of it, we can't think two things at once, so it's going to grab their attention. So the way that I do it in coaching sessions is if someone's feeling anxious or they're upset or they're hysterical, quite often I'll ask them an out-of-the-blue question that nobody would ever ask. So, for example, if someone's really upset, I will quite often lean in and say, I'm so sorry, I just need to ask you something really strange. What colour underpants are you wearing right now? And you'll get this, huh? What? And I'd say, what colour underpants? What colour underpants are you wearing right now? And they will stop, and then they'll begin to go, yellow? I go, okay, I'm sorry, what were you saying? And they'll either crack up laughing and completely interrupt their train of thought. So it's called a pattern interrupt, and you do it by asking a really great question. Another fantastic one you can use is something burning? What's burning? See, when you ask that question, you've got to commit though. Like, you've really got to be in there and have them coming with you with that question. You go, oh my God, what's burning? Another great one is, have you just farted? Man, I'm smelling something real off here. This really stinks. Right, so these are just a couple of techniques that you can use. Obviously, you need to know your friend or your family member, and you need to ask questions which are out of the blue, and you need to be really committed to asking that question to interrupt their pattern. So that's how you do it. Remember that you're not a doctor, you're not a coach, probably, if you're watching this, but this is just a technique that coaches use, that I use all the time, to interrupt my clients and people around me that are going through anxiety. So the bottom line is, you want to get someone to change their focus. How do you do it? You ask amazing questions that gets the brain to start to think in different ways. Hope this helps, and look forward to catching you guys in the future.